Rome called itself civilized. Then it crucified 6,000 people in a straight line just to decorate the highway. Very tasteful. Interior design by Dictatorship. The vestal burial. In early Rome, religion was not a weekend hobby. It was state security. The Romans believed the gods treated the city like a contract. Keep the rituals clean, you get protection. Break the rules, everyone suffers. So, when a vestal virgin broke her vow of chastity, the Senate treated it like treason. No trial by jury. Just a panel of old men in togas deciding she ruined cosmic insurance. The Vestals served for 30 years. They guarded the sacred fire of Vesta. That fire symbolized Rome's life. If you were a Vestal and slept with anyone, the assumption was simple. You just endangered the empire. Rome did not joke about this. They buried you alive under the Campus Celeratus, which literally meant the accursed field. Pleasant branding. The method was neat, which made it worse. Romans could not legally spill Vestal blood, so they got creative. A small chamber was dug underground. A couch, a lamp, bread, water, oil. Just enough to pretend it was not killing. Then the priest sealed the door. Dirt piled on top. You died slowly in darkness, out of sight, but very much on record. The most documented case comes from Aulus Gellius and Plutarch. A Vestal named Cornelia. She said she was innocent. They buried her anyway. One witness wrote that she climbed the steps with dignity, which is historians speak for, she knew they were going to do it no matter what. Tacitus later said some of these accusations were political payback. Being holy did not protect you from Senate drama, it just gave them a ceremonial excuse. The eerie part is that the public watched it. Not the burial itself, but the procession. The crowd stood silent. No cheering, no pity. If the gods were angry, you did not want to look sympathetic to the problem. Rome claimed this was purification. That word did a lot of heavy lifting. They buried a living woman to keep a fire, symbolic of purity, alive. One life traded for optics. Roman justice had no chill. Cannae. Survival was a crime. The Battle of Cannae, in 216 BCE, was the day Rome discovered what a real beating looked like. Hannibal trapped the Roman army in a perfect pocket formation and crushed them. Ancient sources estimate 70,000 Roman soldiers dead in a single day. It was the worst battlefield loss in Roman history. The survivors came home ashamed, not celebrated. Rome treated them as if they had committed a public scandal. The Senate expected them to die rather than retreat. A Roman soldier was supposed to hold the line until his body gave out. Living through defeat looked suspicious. After the fight, a group of survivors tried to plead for ransom money so the state would pay to free captured soldiers. The Senate refused. They said no soldier who surrendered deserved rescue. To them, dying was patriotic. Coming home breathing was apparently poor manners. Several officers were punished just for surviving. One of the most recorded examples is Gnaeus Lentulus. He tried to defend himself. He said surviving could still serve Rome. The Senate did not care. He was barred from public office. Others were sent to disgrace camps, trapped in military exile. They were forced to live with shame until they died. Rome had a rule in wartime. Better a glorious corpse than a breathing embarrassment. Many officers starved themselves rather than live with the Senate's sentence. Suicide was a loophole that restored honor. They called it discipline. Everyone else would call it lethal peer pressure. This was also the battle that taught the Senate to distrust mercy. Even defeat had to be punished. Rome believed fear kept discipline tighter than loyalty. If you were captured, the state blamed you, not the enemy. The logic was simple. If you were still alive, you must have chosen life over Rome. The fact that Hannibal surrounded the entire army did not matter. What made it worse is that this attitude became normal. Rome built its culture on the idea that pain kept people obedient. Coming home from the dead was heroic in myths. In reality, Rome wanted you dead if you dragged your dignity back with you. Cannae was not just a disaster, it was a message. You could die as a hero, or you could live as the problem. The world's worst Senate meeting. By 133 BCE, Rome had money pouring in from conquered lands, but most of it was going straight into the pockets of a small ruling class. Ordinary farmers were losing land. Soldiers were returning from wars with nothing to rebuild. Rome had an economic fire burning, and the Senate kept pretending the smoke was decorative mist. Enter Tiberius Sempronius Gracchus. He was a tribune of the plebs, which meant he could propose laws to help regular citizens. His land reform bill threatened wealthy senators who hoarded public land. Tiberius wanted to fix inequality. The Senate wanted him to stop bringing it up in public. He ignored them. They panicked. Not with debate, but with homicide. The attack happened during a Senate session near the Temple of Jupiter. No swords, no official execution order, just pure mob justice. A group of senators and their supporters stormed the assembly carrying broken furniture parts and roof tiles. The first tribune assassination in Roman history was carried out with whatever was not nailed down. Plutarch writes that Tiberius tried to flee but was clubbed to death and tossed into the Tiber River. The Senate later claimed they were saving the Republic. This phrase became a convenient mask in Roman politics. Whenever powerful men wanted someone dead, they said it was for stability. Translation: Tiberius had embarrassed them by trying to fix the problem they caused. His supporters were killed too. Up to 300 people may have died in the aftermath, depending on the source. The Senate also outlawed public mourning for him, as if grief itself was threatening their authority. Reform was treated as revolt. A tribune defending citizens was treated like a criminal. This killing became the unofficial pilot episode for Roman political violence. From this moment on, senators learned something dangerous. You did not need a legal process if you had furniture with sharp edges and enough angry aristocrats in a group. The Republic claimed it was built on law. But when a tribune tried to use that law for the public instead of the elite, Rome caved in and replaced order with a riot. They called it preserving tradition. It looked a lot more like crowd assault with paperwork. 6,000 crosses on the road to Rome. In 71 BCE, Rome crushed the slave revolt led by Spartacus. The army won, but the Senate wanted something bigger than victory. They wanted a message carved into the landscape. After the final battle, around 6,000 captured rebels were sentenced to crucifixion. Not inside a city, not in a hidden field. They were nailed up along the Appian Way, the main road into Rome, stretching roughly 120 miles. This was not an execution, it was a billboard. Appian writes that the crosses were placed one after another so that anyone walking toward Rome passed a slow-motion graveyard. There were no burials. The bodies stayed up until they fell apart. Crucifixion was not a quick death. It could take days. The point was not punishment. The point was theater. Roman elites feared slaves more than foreign armies. A rebellion meant the empire's entire labor system looked weak. So they staged fear as national policy. The message was, if you want freedom, Rome will pin you to a pole until the birds lose interest. Most of these men were not generals or war criminals. Many were farmers, captives, or workers with no rights at all. The Senate still chose full public torture. A soldier could stab a man cleanly, a politician could not. He needed spectacle. There is no record of Spartacus's body. Some historians think he died in battle. Others think he vanished in the chaos. Rome could tolerate his corpse. They could not tolerate his example. Killing a legend was easier than proving he stayed dead. The Appian crucifixions remained one of the largest mass executions in Roman history. It set the standard. Rome had discovered a propaganda method that did not need speeches. Misery in a straight line. This was the empire's version of a service reminder. Do not revolt. Do not resist. Do not dream above your rank. The state might not care how you lived, but it was deeply invested in how you died. The Republic claimed it brought order to the world. On this road, order looked a lot like a construction project staffed by corpses. The Catiline stranglings. By 63 BCE, Rome was nervous. Debt riots, corruption scandals, class anger, and a senate full of men who treated chaos as a management style. Then Lucius Sergius Catiline tried to organize an uprising. He promised debt relief, office reform, and the removal of senators who acted like landlords wearing robes. The Senate panicked. They were not afraid of war. They were afraid of voters getting ideas. Cicero, the consul at the time, gave his famous speeches against Catiline. He made the Senate believe the threat would spread if they hesitated. Rome had a legal process for treason trials, but the Senate did not want paperwork. They passed the Senatus Consultum Ultimum, the final decree, which let them ignore normal law in the name of saving the state. Emergency law with no rules attached. 5 captured conspirators were sent to the Tullianum, the city's oldest state prison. The word prison makes it sound humane. It was a stone pit that stank of sewage, humidity, and death. Sallust wrote that the air inside corrupted the body. Execution there did not use swords. The men were strangled one by one with rope, while officials stood by to verify it was proper procedure. There were no appeals in defense. No jury. The Senate called it national security. It was closer to a political hit job wrapped in ritual. Cicero bragged that he saved the Republic. He left the chamber expecting applause. Instead, many senators went quiet. They knew what had just happened. The legal right to kill your enemy without trial now had precedent. No empire collapses in a single day. It dissolves by normalizing shortcuts. Later Romans looked back and called this moment the one where fear gained legal status. If the Senate could execute citizens in secret, the Constitution meant whatever the winning faction said it meant that week. The bodies of the conspirators were never returned to their families. The Senate wanted them erased from public memory. They failed. Every historian since has talked about them, and none of them say great job, Rome. This was not justice. It was a warning. Rome had laws until the Senate got inconvenienced. After that, rope. 23 stabs, 1 Caesar. By 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was the most powerful man in Rome. He won civil wars, rewrote laws, and stacked offices until he didn't look like a consul anymore. He looked like a one-man government with good lighting. The Senate said they feared dictatorship. What they really feared was irrelevance. A group of senators, at least 60 of them, decided the solution was homicide with a patriotic label on it. Caesar entered the theater of Pompey for a Senate session on the Ides of March. He had only a light guard. Nobody expected a stabbing spree in a government building before lunch. That changed fast. According to Suetonius and Plutarch, the first blow hit his shoulder. Then more men jumped in. 23 stab wounds total. A physician named Antistius inspected the body afterward and said only one wound, the one to his chest, was actually fatal. The rest were chaos, hesitation, or political enthusiasm gone sloppy. The conspirators expected Rome to cheer. They thought people would flood the streets to celebrate restored liberty. Instead, the city froze. Killing Caesar did not stop his influence. It turned him into a martyr. The Senate could have exiled him, but exile does not create legends. Murder does. The shock was not the killing. Rome was used to violence. The shock was who did it. Senators in formal robes, turning a state meeting into a group execution. Government stopped being a place of law and turned into a crime scene. Some of the killers later bragged that it was an honorable act. They tried to stage a triumph. No one applauded. They misread the room so badly that Caesar's supporters used the anger to push the Republic into full collapse. The assassination meant to save Rome actually gave Rome an emperor. The Republic was alive in the morning and mortally wounded by afternoon. The Senate claimed this was the price of freedom. The truth was simpler. They stabbed a man 23 times because they were out of arguments, Germanicus, and the poison plot. By 19 CE, Germanicus was the golden boy of Rome. Adopted by Tiberius, popular with troops, loved by the public, charismatic in a way that made senators nervous. He looked like the next emperor, without even trying. That was a problem in a city where popularity counted as a threat. During his travels in the eastern provinces, he fell mysteriously ill in Antioch. The official story at first was bad climate, bad food, unlucky sickness, the usual Roman something in the water excuse. Then evidence started piling up. When his allies inspected his home, they found cursed tablets, human ashes, charred bone fragments, and hair tied in ritual knots. A full witchcraft starter kit. Tacitus reports that Germanicus accused Gnaeus Piso, the governor of Syria, of poisoning him. Piso was a loyalist of Tiberius. He had every motive to stop a future rival before he grew into a successor. Poison was the Roman choice for killing people who were too high-ranking for swords and too popular for open execution. No blood, no crowd, no martyr. Germanicus lingered for weeks. Not a quick death. He said goodbye to his friends and told them to stay loyal to his family. If a man expects recovery, he gives orders. If he expects sabotage, he gives instructions for revenge. He chose the second. After his death, Rome did not mourn quietly. The public demanded answers. Piso was dragged into a trial so explosive that senators panicked about the fallout. Records say Piso killed himself before the verdict. In Roman politics, that phrase often meant someone helped. Tiberius stayed strangely calm through all of it. Historians still debate whether he ordered the poisoning or simply tolerated it, but the result was clear. Germanicus died young, and the path to the throne stayed closed. This case matters because it revealed a shift in style. The Republic used mobs and blades. The Empire preferred medicine bowls with extra ingredients. Early Rome killed for law. Later Rome killed for convenience. Germanicus was not executed. He was erased, Nero's human torches. By 64 CE, Rome had just suffered the Great Fire. Most of the city burned. People needed someone to blame, and Emperor Nero did not want the finger pointed at his palace building plans. So he picked a group with no political power and no public sympathy, the early Christians. They were a small minority, disliked for not joining public rituals, and easy to frame as enemies of Roman tradition. Tacitus describes what happened next, and he was no Christian sympathizer. He wrote that Nero staged a public punishment display inside his own gardens. The executions were arranged as entertainment during evening events. Some victims were nailed to crosses. Others were sewn into animal skins and attacked by dogs. The most infamous group were coated in pitch or oil and set on fire at night to serve as lamps. This was not execution. This was stagecraft. Nero turned death into backyard lighting, and it worked as propaganda. The message was not subtle. The emperor could turn anyone into decoration if it pleased him. Even by Roman standards, this was excessive. Many senators hated Christians, but even they were uneasy. You do not usually see state power advertised through open humiliation unless the ruler is afraid of losing control. The irony is that Nero probably did not start the fire. Modern historians point to cramped wooden housing, wind, and poor firefighting systems as the real cause. But once rumors began spreading that Nero watched Rome burn, he panicked and reached for the oldest political trick in the imperial handbook: find a scapegoat with no army and no friends. Nero's punishments were meant to prove strength. Instead, they exposed insecurity. If an emperor needed to turn human beings into night torches to look powerful, he was not governing, he was performing. The cruelty here was not only in the deaths, it was in the framing. These people were not executed for a crime. They were props in a political theater production designed to rebuild Nero's image. The empire called it justice. Tacitus called it a spectacle. History calls it what it was: a ruler in meltdown mode, using public death as a distraction campaign. Vitellius, dumped like trash. By 69 CE, Rome was spinning through emperors like a broken slot machine. Nero died in 68. Galba took over, then got killed. Otho replaced him and also died. That left Aulus Vitellius, a man who loved banquets more than governing. He was emperor for 8 months, and most of that time, he was busy eating, celebrating, or pretending the empire was not on fire. When Vespasian's forces marched on Rome to replace him, Vitellius tried to abdicate. Not out of honor, out of fear. He signed a resignation, then changed his mind the next day, which was peak Roman leadership indecision. The people did not respect him. The Senate did not respect him. And the soldiers' shifting allegiances treated him like a man already erased from history. Suetonius says that when the invaders reached the city, Vitellius tried to hide in a porter's lodge, disguised and shaking. He was dragged out anyway. This was not a formal arrest. This was a public manhandling of a sitting emperor by soldiers who had already decided he did not count. They dragged him through the streets of Rome, his clothes torn, his hair pulled. He was stabbed and beaten repeatedly. The crowd mocked him as he passed. He begged. That sealed the humiliation. Romans worshipped dignity in defeat. Vitellius displayed the opposite. He was hauled to the Gemonian steppes, a place used for disgraced criminals, and killed. No imperial burial, no honors. His body was dumped in the Tiber River. That disposal was symbolic. Throwing someone into the river meant they were beneath memory. It was not just death, it was deletion. Rome had killed emperors before, but it usually pretended there was some legal principle behind it. Here, there was no disguise. Vitellius was treated exactly the way Rome treated thieves, traitors, and nuisances. In one morning, the empire showed the entire population that the purple robe meant nothing if the soldiers got bored of you. This is the purest example of Roman politics in survival mode. No trial, no dignity, no illusion of fairness. Just mob rule with uniforms. Perpetua and felicitas, faith on the killing floor. By 203 CE, Rome had a new problem: ordinary citizens refusing to worship state gods. For a religion-based government, that looked like civil disobedience. Christianity was still illegal, and local officials liked to prove loyalty by cracking down on it. In Carthage, 2 women became the most documented victims of these trials: Vibia Perpetua, a noblewoman in her early 20s, and Felicitas, an enslaved woman who was pregnant when arrested. Their story is not rumor. It is one of the rare ancient deaths preserved through a first-hand diary. Perpetua recorded her own imprisonment and trial. She refused to renounce her faith, even when her father begged her to think of her newborn child. The officials expected her to fold under emotional pressure. Instead, she told them she was not leaving the faith. Rome hated stubborn martyrs. They made the empire look weak. Because Felicitas was pregnant, Roman law delayed her execution until she gave birth. That detail alone shows how twisted Roman mercy could get. They waited to kill her so the procedure looked tidy. When the day arrived, they were marched into the arena. This was not justice. This was live entertainment. The crowd came to watch death like it was a sport. According to the Passio, Perpetua stayed steady even after she was gored by a wild animal. She helped straighten her clothing because she wanted to die with dignity rather than look panic-stricken. Felicitas also survived the animals at first, so the guards finished both women with a sword. The irony is that Rome wanted this to scare people. Instead, the records made them famous. A mob came to see a warning. History kept a testimony. This was Rome's version of public order. If a citizen obeyed the state, fine. If a citizen obeyed conscience instead, the arena would handle the rest. Not debate, not persuasion. A staged death in front of taxpayers. The empire believed fear kept everyone in line. What it actually did was turn certain victims into symbols that outlived the emperors who signed their warrants. Rome wanted silence. What it got was the most famous martyr text from antiquity,